is E&P Reports, a vodcast from editor and publisher. Since 1884, the authoritative voice of news publishing. And this episode sponsored by IQ Audience Plus by Town News. Consumer revenue has never been more important. Digital leaders at media organizations worldwide understand the need to accelerate its growth now. Plus, traditional one-size-fits-all paywalls aren't the answer. They're blunt instruments that treat all visitors the same way. IQ Audience Plus is a smart, dynamic metering solution that empowers media companies to maximize revenue by identifying key audiences, seeding engagement, and growing membership and subscriptions. Supercharge your consumer revenue, grow engagement, and bolster your advertising income now with IQ Audience Plus. Visit townnews.com EP today to learn more. And greetings once again, Mike Blinder, publisher of E&P Magazine. Quick housekeeping, listening to us on your favorite podcast platforms, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, Apple, Google, who cares? Just make sure you follow us. Watching us on our YouTube channel, just hit that subscribe button below me, smash the bell to the right. You'll get an update each and every time we upload a new episode of E&P Reports. This is an E&P Reports, and I'm honored to have, can I call you a friend, Liz? We've known each other.
Mike, I'd be honored if you did.
Liz White, not a stranger to our industry by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously publisher and executive vice president of the Record Journal, and of course your parent company, which is RJ Media, correct?
Yep.
And of course, Jamie, have we met before? Jamie Giannani, have we met anywhere in our time together in this industry?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, you actually did a very influential training with our team earlier. I want to say it was last year.
Oh my! You know, and I think that was one of the few times I was sober. That was amazing. No, I do remember doing it. I love your team, and I love you guys were very successful as well in some deployments. But more importantly, I'd like to talk about your company first, because one of the reasons I love RJ Media is you guys. What is that old Wayne Gretzky expression? When he was asked by the press why he was so good at hockey, he said, "I skate to where the puck is going."
I love that expression.
But you've always been there, Liz. You guys don't sleep at the switch, right? You don't sit back. You're one of the oldest newspapers in New England, correct? I mean, what's the family history first?
Sure. Yeah, we're 155 years old this month, actually.
Congratulations,
really? Liz. You don't look a day over 155.
I always count on Jamie for that joke. Yes.
Yes. Rim shot. Go ahead.
And I'm the publisher. I have been for the last 2 years since right before the pandemic began.
Good timing.
And I'm the fifth generation family owner of our business,
which is rare in today's world, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sure there have been times over the years where someone has asked you to sell out, and your family has ink in its veins, I like to say. Question I have to ask then, is there offspring in the family that may continue the journey with your family, or cousins or nephews, or you can just tell me it's none of my damn business and move on? But
well, that's like an obvious question in a family business, right? So no, I have two sons. They're 6 and 8 years old. I haven't forced them to commit to being the next generation quite yet, but certainly they learn about the business every day. So
it's so comforting to hear. I mean, when I entered the newspaper industry obliquely, because I was running a radio group in New England up in Portland, Maine, I was brought in by Matty Corson and the Giannani Communications, which sold to the Blethyn families. At least it went from family to family. But it's in today's world, it's just so hard to find that commitment. So I assume if I were to walk down the streets of Meriden, Connecticut,
Meriden,
yeah, and I would just mention the family of the Record Journal, I assume your commitment to the town, to the community, to the region has remained strong for this 150 years, and you have that commitment to the community. But beyond that, you guys have always been in the digital forefront. I mean, you have a rockin' digital agency. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Jamie? I don't know if that's under your purview as strategic sales manager, but
yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So home-based digital, it came to the Record Journal. How long ago, Liz? Like 5 years ago, we started that?
Yeah, about 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah.
Yep. And It's, of course, under the RJ Media Group umbrella. Everything, all the people that work with us are in-house, and we work with local businesses, of course, not just for their print needs, but for their digital needs as well. We are cutting edge where the pipe or puck is being struck, if you want to talk about hockey, but
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see the local businesses who can benefit from doing email blasts, from display targeting, search engine marketing, Facebook, any Google ads. We even do audio streaming and commercial TV streaming as well.
So you are selling. My two questions were going to be the two hottest things that at least we're seeing at E&P for, for rocking with revenue would be number one, OTT. So you are creating. Oh, you're saying that for those of you audio only, you should have seen that. Oh, yes, of course. Because there's some that still don't get it, that OTT is the future of video advertising and so amazingly efficient, easy to sell. If you can explain it. Now, how about content marketing? Am I hitting the right button? No, you guys are selling content, I'm assuming, to your advertisers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you go. The same look, like, oh.
Branded content. Everyone wants their name next to a hard-hitting article.
And it's an amazing, in fact, it's our number one revenue stream at E&P is content marketing. You can call it a million different things, but our advertisers crave that. And when your core competency is content, why not expand it so it benefits the advertiser as well? So there you go. There's my 2 cents. It's my show. I can do whatever the heck I want. Let's discuss the audience now. You have not just the Record Journal, this massively respected daily, but you have a lot of weeklies as well. You surround the region right now. How big is the empire, Liz? What is your total footprint now?
Yeah, so we cover, so we have 8 weeklies and 2 websites, the daily newspaper and the digital agency. So we're covering 100% of the homes in 9 towns on a weekly or daily basis, depending on the product. And it's about 265,000 people.
Where are you precisely for someone who can't whip out a map right now if they're just listening?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I should have mentioned Central Connecticut. So
right.
I always say we're 20 minutes south of Hartford, 20 minutes north of New Haven, 2 hours south of Boston, 2 hours north of New York City.
It's a thriving area. It's got a lot of industry too, does it not? Mm-hmm. It's and it's beautiful, the coast and all that and more, but you really have the best of all worlds right there because you're close to big cities, but and school systems. I read up it, and obviously very, very strong. It's a wonderful place to live. So congratulations on the empire there. So now let's get into the meat of this thing. How did this whole thing start where you guys put together a program where you were able to tap into American Rescue Plan Act funding? So talk to me about the Meriden Business Boost Marketing Grant. Do I have that right? That's what it's called, the Meriden Business Boost Marketing Grant. Today is my day for screwing up names and everything, but I hope I got that out.
The best way to remember Meriden, we used to be called the Meriden because we were halfway between Boston and New York City back in the day. So Meriden.
There you go. Okay, the Meriden Business Boost Marketing Program. Why don't you, Liz, start off first? How did it even get started? Give me the history of this thing.
So where all good things start, Mike, when you read your own newspaper.
Because print is not dead. Everyone reads newspapers.
But you could read it in print, you could read it online, but you read your own paper and that's where you get good ideas, right?
Okay, go ahead.
So in May of last year, Meriden was one of the first local towns or cities to receive American Rescue Plan funding. And they also were one of they received the largest amount locally. But when we read in May that they received $36 million in American Rescue Plan Act funding, and very specifically in the story, it said the categories of funding that the money could be used for, infrastructure and different things in the town or in the city. But one of the approved uses was for economic recovery from the pandemic. So that's where the wheel started turning. Of how can we actually help a lot of local businesses at once and come up with a proposal to bring to the city to help a high volume of not only small businesses, but also nonprofits. So that's sort of where the idea began. And what we did is we started coming up with some ideas around things building off of things that we had already succeeded with during the pandemic, which was our advertising match program, which Jamie led. And also, Mike, I want to say, I love one of the many, many things I love about our industry is how much we're all willing to share ideas.
Mhm.
And when the pandemic first hit, and this, we named it Advertising Match Program, but a lot of other newspapers around the country named it whatever they named it. But I know that we borrowed that idea from someone else who borrowed it from someone else who somebody came up with it originally, and I don't even know who did in the industry. But that Advertising Match Program was used all around the country, and it was so helpful for all of us to help local businesses have their dollars go further when the pandemic first hit, when they didn't even want to spend any money. So I just want to make that point, first of all. And that was what this program was built around. Like, how can we actually match funds that weren't coming from the advertiser's pocket? They were coming from the American Rescue Plan funds.
I need to take credit for that, because we uncovered that story. I believe someone might correct me, but unless they were lying, it came from Adams.
Okay, so I was thinking they might have been the
and it was Mike down that runs the Adams papers that were taken over from David Dunrankin, who I think thought it up and was the first. And we did a podcast with him and a story how he said, what I'm going to, because this is just, it was with the pandemic, it just started. And he basically said, look, I'm just going to match. I'm just going to start, you start average. And then everybody, it was a great idea. And then Adams picked it up and everybody else did. But what a wonderful thing to do is help a business during tough times.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're tapping into federal money, correct, to make this all work. And
Correct.
how did you do this alone? Did you team up with the chamber? Give me the how did you start making this thing become a reality?
Sure. Jamie, you want to take the
go ahead, Jamie.
This one.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, as everyone knows, the local chambers are so influential when it comes not just for working with the city, but for local businesses as well. So when we were talking with the Economic Development Director and kind of customizing this program to fit with the ARPA funds and with our match program, we also wanted to find a way to bring in the Chamber of Commerce. So after discussing it with the Economic Development Director, I actually went back to our chamber and spoke with them about how we wanted to include them and if they could provide some sort of discount. So when we are promoting this grant to our local businesses, half the funds come from us, half the funds come from this federal grant. And they also get a benefit of joining or already being a part of the chamber. And they got really excited. We actually customized it to include a $50 off advertising through the chamber, or $50 off your membership if you were a new member joining now. And
so it's a win-win-win-win-win.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so the chamber gets excited because they have a member benefit. Moreover, they can make the city stronger by building their membership. Mm-hmm. They then help you promote it, right? Or help you champion it, because you had to get this approved by a city council, I assume, of some kind, right? Once you and the chamber put together the plan, you had to go stand in front of a bunch of politicians and pitch it. Is this how this came together?
Correct. And I want to be very clear about this too, Mike. Yes, in every town and city across the country can approach this their own customized way. So when I give, when you ask the question later about like how we recommend other people do it, you kind of have to navigate what the process is in that town or city, because in Meriden, they created an ARPA committee. And the people on the committee, some of them are town councilors, the mayor's on it, and then there's some people from the community on it. But so that was the first step, was bringing it to that committee, and they are accepting outside proposals. That's not how it works in every town or city, though. They don't have to have an ARPA committee. So
no, the funds are simply allocated to the city, and They got to figure out how to disperse it fairly.
And they could have a consultant, they could have the town manager approving it, they could have the town council, they could have whatever. But in Meriden, they actually have an ARPA committee that accepts outside proposals for this funding.
And this is the American Rescue Plan Act. That's what ARPA.
Yes, sorry. Yes,
yeah.
American.
I just want to make sure. Yep. So now, this committee and you meet, this is back in January, right? This is the timeline. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming, because it's a committee, that you had people that were in favor and people that were asking tough questions. What were the toughest questions you had to address, just so we can all hear? Did someone spout out and say, newspapers are dead? Not just because you just said that there, but
they're not
what were the objections you heard, Jamie, when you pitched this whole plan?
So my favorite objection was, so when we brought this proposal to them, we wanted to focus on our small businesses. Now, Meriden is very interesting in our small businesses. We have a ton of mom and pop shops that have, 5 employees, but we also have manufacturers. We have large businesses that service not just the community, but communities around us nationally, globally.
Right.
And our mayor, he actually works for one of those national businesses. And he was in this council meeting. And his first question was, how are we going to help the larger businesses who suffered through the pandemic? And that's something that we had debated before we presented it. And we wanted it to be fair. We wanted to help all of our businesses. So we debated this. It was probably the longest debate of that entire night.
Yeah, no, I just want to clarify because the criteria. So when the Economic Development Director and us had created the proposal, he actually said, you know what? I think that the businesses who will be in most need of this are the businesses with 25 and fewer employees. And so that's what we put in the proposal. And so that was the point that got debated in the ARPA committee meeting.
That to me is like a buying signal. We're going to go forward with this. Just where do we put the money?
Exactly.
You guys it's like you should have taken a breath going, wow, right. They're asking what color it comes in. They're asking.
Exactly. So that was a good sign, right? But that's kind of an important point though, because whatever it is that that your city or town wants or needs, it can be customized for it. And that's what they really felt strongly about.
Well, let's be very clear about something. You're not taking all the funds that were allocated to the community. You were taking a small portion. How much total ARPA money was being funneled to?
So there's $36 million total.
And you're just asking for $300,000.
$300,000. Yes.
Right. Correct. So that means there's still going to be other ways that businesses in the community are going to benefit. Schools, clean water, whatever else. Yeah. That's going to happen from this.
Yeah, they've already allocated things to programs to help, after school programs and the sewers and all kinds of different things that they've already allocated. And they still have only allocated a third of the total. And they have lots of other proposals. And to be clear, businesses can actually directly submit their proposals in addition to this. Like this is just one way to help businesses.
So it sounds to me that this was not difficult to get approved. If this is their biggest debate, was how are we going to make sure everybody benefits from this marketing grant, correct? This is pretty much what it was.
Yeah, but I want to make it clear that the process takes a long time, which is fine, right? It's just because there's a process to how you usually have to submit things or gain kind of consensus around it. I would say it takes over time, right? So that was sort of the last step, I would say. Well, and then it had to get it approved by the actual city council the following week, the funding itself. The ARPA committee then makes recommendations to the city council and they approve it. So that happened the week after.
So
is one of the most influential parts of putting this through was getting the buy-in from, first and foremost, the economic development director. We didn't go to him and say, we want X amount of funds. We went to him and said, we have a great idea and we want to collaborate with you. And he's the one that brought up the amount of money. He's the one that, put some of the. That
makes a lot of sense. So with the buy-in, you weren't saying, give me money. You had already agreed with the person who was helping with the allocation on the amount by the time you presented it to the committee, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
I think that's key. You had to go ahead.
And his stamp, the Economic Development Department, was on the proposal. So he actually submitted the proposal with us, presented the proposal with us. So it was actually a city partnership with us. It wasn't just our own proposal.
So rule number one is play the game. Work with the people first before you make the pitch. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. Now I'm going to put up on the screen and again, I warned you guys, most of our thousands of I guess you would call them viewers and listeners. Most of them are on the audio side, but I'm going to still put up the screen. Here is the physical plan. Now I'm showing at least to our video audience, correct? Yeah. But let's talk it through. So you asked for $300,000. You as the newspaper entity, media partner, would match every dollar for dollar, correct? So essentially what you were saying to the community is here's $600,000 of advertising available to businesses that will have to then, how do the businesses ask for this money? Help me through this process, or take me through the plan and then tell me how it all came together. Jamie, do you want to do the bullets here? Go ahead.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the plan and then we'll get into how businesses can actually apply for this. And
Sure.
Fortunately, it is super easy for the businesses.
Okay.
So obviously, this came about with a partnership with the City of Meriden, the Record Journal, the Mid-State Chamber of Commerce. And for the record, the City of Meriden and the Mid-State Chamber of Commerce are going to get a lot of marketing just when we push this grant out. And what we're going to be doing is servicing 150 Meriden businesses. We also have a clause in here stating that, if this is successful, if the City of Meriden wants to move forward with a second round, the Record Journal is already committed to doing that.
Excellent.
That was one of the questions. We've got more than 150 businesses. How do we help all of them?
Boy, Liz, these are buying signals on steroids, aren't they?
Well, and to be clear, the Economic Development Director is the one who wanted that in there. We didn't put that in there. He said to put that in there. Yeah. So I think that's important.
But you guys must have been so psyched, because what you're doing is addressing really good questions, but it sounds like everybody was buying into the concept that advertising helps drive an economy. I was waiting for that objection. Isn't word of mouth enough? I mean, we've all heard that. The number one reason businesses don't advertise is they think it's a luxury. They think, we use word of mouth now. We have a Facebook page. Jamie, am I right? That's what you're really getting
You're
over.
so right.
It's not social media versus email. It's why should I advertise? So they'd already accepted the premise that this will drive the economy locally. Did you ever, maybe I'm going off topic, but did you also mention to them the research that was out during COVID that consumers wanted to help local businesses, that COVID actually brought out a love for driving local revenue and local business? People wanted to shop locally. They just wanted to know who was open, who wasn't open, who was doing what. Did this come up in the dialogue as well?
Yes, it did. And that's also why we created the AMP, or Advertising Match Program, because we wanted to help these businesses amp up their messages and their business during COVID. So when they could only afford $100 to promote their business, we gave them an extra $100 so that they could reach the masses. So that they could stay in
basically,
business.
a business then has to ask to be part of the 150 that's going to get part of this marketing. They get a credit to join the chamber if they're or they get a credit off their bill if they are a member of the chamber, and they're getting free marketing when all the dust settles. Half paid by you guys, half paid by the federal government. Is this correct?
Right. Yeah, and each one is $4,000. It's a $4,000 marketing grant. Just to kind of summarize what's on the screen here, if the $4,000 marketing grant is used over 2 to 4 months, so $2,000 comes from the ARPA funding, and then we match it dollar for dollar in free advertising from us, and then that's where the $300,000 comes from the federal funding and $300,000 from us. And so the other thing, Mike, that we should mention is that we implemented a successful program in the summer of 2020. In partnership with the local United Way of Meriden and Wallingford, that was similar. We had a Facebook grant, and we partnered with the United Way and provided 40 free marketing campaigns to local nonprofits. So we actually had implemented, but we had double matched every dollar on that program. And so that drove program signups, awareness, donations, all kinds of things. And those nonprofits didn't have the funds to advertise at all during that time. So it provided, and so we already had a track record of success. You saw in the proposal, Mike, all the testimonials. That was from all the nonprofits who had success with that program with us the summer before. So that was in our proposal when we were presenting it to the city as well.
So basically, you were able to say, look, these organizations benefit from marketing.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question that doing marketing will advance the economy, help us help the city. That's what it all really boiled down to. Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes. $4,000. So basically, Jamie, these were all little 1-by-1 ads you buried on page 16 or 22, and just with a logo, and they were all templated. Yes, no?
No. No. One thing the Record Journal does, and does very, very right, is everything is customized. We don't do cookie cutter solutions for anybody. If they come to us with $50, if they come to us with $50,000, it doesn't matter, because what works for you is not going to work for me, is not going to work for Liz. And that equates to businesses as well.
I'm the same way. When people say, can I see your rate card? I go, we really don't have one. I mean, let's sit down and talk. Tell me what you're looking to do, and I'll see if I have a solution that'll work for you. Everything is customized. I mean, I don't sell ads. I hate that whole thought of, what are your banner ads called? Let's just talk. What do you want? And that to me is solution selling, right? Needs-based selling, consultative selling. And that's, so in other words, you would cookie cutter this $4,000 and you did what needed to be done you were building the right programs for people, correct? This is essential.
Absolutely. And, you know, a lot of this, we do have certain things that we're going to do that are quote unquote templated. That includes, we're going to give the businesses who are approved for this grant some additional marketing. We want to promote the grant by promoting the businesses that accept it and are benefiting from it.
That makes sense.
So that's where, you know, we haven't really confirmed exactly how the layout's going to be, but I'm thinking, you know, their logos will be on a page. I know we want to do testimonials. We put together a lot of proofs that we've been going back and forth with. But aside from that, no, if I go into, let's say, an auto body shop, I'm not going to sell them what I'm going to sell to the local pizzeria.
Are you now soliciting businesses to apply for the money? Are you in that phase right now? Is it underway? Are people applying for this right now?
We're just about to kick it off with the city. Yes.
Okay. So, because I was going to share this, you sent me the pitch sheet. It looks gorgeous. I mean, you guys do great work.
Oh yes.
But this I mean, and by the way, for those of you on the audio channel, when you go to the page that the podcast is on, you will be able to download this entire slide deck that you sent me. We will send you links I mean, it's all there. I'm going to give you everything. So if you're listening right now on your phone and you're working out, relax, go back to the site, editorandpublisher.com/vodcasts. You'll find this, because this is a beautiful piece. And it basically, I mean, it lets any business of any size understand the benefit of this. And I love what you're doing with it, because you basically made it easy. I hate when I see marketing materials that require PhDs to understand. And maybe you guys disagree with me, but this is wonderful. You're in the process now of about to then ask businesses to apply to be the 150, correct?
Yeah, right. These were the specs that we actually included in the proposal, but yes, they're ready to go. And I just want to give a shout out to our creative team, because this is their wonderful work. And this is a great example of what helps us sell our campaigns to our advertisers. But in this case, it helped us sell the concept to the city of Meriden. So yes, this is the template we'll use when we're marketing it. And then also we have this all translated into Spanish as well, Mike.
Good.
So we have these ads in Spanish and the marketing in Spanish, and then the actual form to apply is also in Spanish.
Excellent. And you have a web address, myrecordjournal.com/Meriden Grant, which is wonderful. So it's easy for people to find, easy to apply. So let's assume people are now applying. Bring this all home for me. What is the criteria? Who's going to judge? Who's going to pick? Let's assume 6,000 businesses apply. How are you going to pick the 150 and then hopefully have more rounds to benefit more?
If I can, my favorite part of this is what you need to be able to be qualified. And that is simple. A Meriden business. As long as your business is in Meriden and you provide products and services to Meriden, you're already qualified. All you have to do is go online to apply.
What will make you choose the business, Liz? Will you have a committee from the newspaper, from the city?
So it's really first come, first served, and that's what we put into the proposal. So we will be marketing it. The Economic Development Commission and Director will be marketing it, and the Chamber will be marketing it. But we want to just get people in as quickly as possible. So the concept is that, there's not a lot of criteria, because the businesses who need this and need it quickly will be able to get it going. And then we'll create a wait list. And then if there's additional funds, we'll be able to come back around. And that's what the phase 2 was designed for.
Based on the marketing materials I've seen and the value propositions, how easily you spelled it out, you'll likely have your 150 on the first day. I can't imagine people going, well, think about this. I get $4,000 worth of advertising to help me relaunch my business after 2 years of the pandemic. That is an amazing thing.
I'm glad you said that because I can't tell you how many people say, well, what if you don't get the 150? And I said, we will, first of all, but second of all, I will knock on all the doors myself if I had to get to the 150. So I'm not worried about getting to 150.
I have to ask the question that a lot of greedy ad directors right now and publishers are thinking, what about switch dollars? What if you have an advertiser that's got a full year contract with you? Would you still honor this for that advertiser as well, Liz?
Yeah, but of course everybody thinks that way. And we of course have to think that way too. But I think the way I think of it is it's only $4,000, right?
Right.
And per business, right? And so these are also, and this is not why we did this program, but I think it's important to say it to everybody out here. These are also opportunities to show each business or nonprofit that we're working with the value and the results that we can provide through our marketing, right? So if all we're thinking about is the $4,000 being switched from one pocket to the other, then I don't think that's the right way to think about it. I think we need to think about, let's use those marketing dollars, to Jamie's point, in a customized way that actually helps them achieve their goals. Then they'll see the return on their investment and they'll want to keep investing in marketing going forward. So I don't think of it that way at all.
Good for you. Next question, which again, the greedy ad director, publisher, or owner. I mean, I publish a magazine that has hard costs. I have certain products and services that I offer solutions to advertisers that I have no cost against except time. Others, I'm paying a fee to a provider, a vendor, if I can use that term, supplier. Of course, every page costs me money that I have to put in the magazine. Are you going to limit certain products and services, Jamie or Liz, depending upon how much they cost you, or is it open to any of the products and services you guys offer at RJ Media?
I'll take that one, Jamie. Sorry, I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to limit it if we have hard cost, right? But
of course,
but we have the funded piece that we have the flexibility. The match piece, we have to use the products that don't have the additional hard costs. So that's sort of how we view it, Mike. And as you know, that's why you're asking.
Oh, there's such thin margins.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamie said the magic word there. You said Google. I mean, that's most probably that's a thin margin product, right? When you're selling AdWords, because you got to be competitive. So it's just, but if you package things right, I find, and make a blend of a good solution, everything evens out in the long run, doesn't it, Jamie? I mean,
absolutely.
Jamie, why don't you tell them about the piece if the advertiser invests their money too? Because I think that's important here as well.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. And this goes to, the greedy director of advertising who wants to make sure that their funds are still coming in from, Mr. Advertiser. If Mr. Advertiser is spending $500 and we go to him and say, listen, you got approved for $4,000, we don't want him to say, oh, well, then I don't have to spend this $500 this month. So what we implemented was a double match program on top of the $4,000. So if our advertisers want to buy in and get skin in the game, as many people say, we will take their investment and double it. So not only does Mr. Advertiser get $4,000, but if he puts $500 towards it, we're going to give him an additional $1,000.
That's amazing. So again, you're making this so win-win-win oriented that what you wind up with, and it's all, this is why I was trying to get you to say this, because I'm a big believer in that. Don't sell anything that doesn't work for an advertiser, period, right? I mean, I don't care how greedy you are, but you want them to enjoy the process, get results, work, and stay with you afterwards. And I love the fact that you're thinking that way. Final question. You've really taken us through the process, Liz. What advice would you give right now to that publisher who says, I got to get on board with this quick? It sounds like the step number one is find out if money's been allocated to you in your community and who's controlling it, and set up a meeting and talk to them. Is that correct, Liz? That's step one.
Yeah. Number one is, and there's, it's all public information. You've probably written about it.
Exactly. It's in the paper.
Right.
Go meet with your editor and ask them about it, right? Or her, right?
But it's on, your state website, probably listed by town, how much money your town has received in this American Rescue Plan funding. So you should know that going into this. And then what we recommend, and we've done this in every single town, Mike, we didn't mention this, but we're talking to all the towns in our market.
Of course.
So Meriden has just moved the fastest. And it's still been, many months. So, but in other towns, same process that we're following here is we always start with economic development director. So go to the economic development director, because that person immediately in every situation understands the concept and loves the concept. I have not come across one so far that says, I don't like this idea. They love the concept of helping a lot of local businesses at once, because guess what? They don't have the infrastructure to do this. We have an infrastructure that can help 150 businesses at once quickly. Great. And they don't. So I think do that. And then number 2, use our template. Steal all of our materials.
Well, that was going to be my last.
Everybody.
I had my gotcha question ready to go. So how much, Liz, are you going to charge that publisher who says, Liz, can I use your template that already is beautiful and perfect?
$0, Mike.
Zero.
I'll match it with our advertising match.
What are you, a communist? You're going to do this for free? No, this is what I've heard.
I mean, I consider paying it forward. I've gotten so many wonderful ideas from so many people across the industry over my whole career, and I continue to this day. That I think is just paying it forward. So there's an executive summary, there's a slide deck, just take it, customize it, do whatever you want with it, use it. And other markets, it's worked in other markets. The people are asking me questions, they're proposing it. And it's been approved in 2 other states so far, in 2 other markets, in 2 other cities or towns. So it's working. So start with that economic development director, then go to the chamber. If there's other business groups that make sense to put on the proposal, do that too. Use the template. Watch the America's Newspapers webinars if it's helpful too. And then reach out to Jamie and me. We're here. You can.
That was the next question. Email addresses from Jamie. How does someone get in touch with you to learn anything they need or get some more information?
Absolutely. So I'm actually going to give out my cell phone number because.
Yeah, you go, girl. Go.
But that's the best way to get in touch with me, and I love answering questions like this.
Go ahead.
So 703-220-6761. Text me, call me. If you'd rather email me, it's JGIANINI@rjmediagroup.com. The phone number's a little easier.
There's no dash. It's RJ Media Group. There's no dash in there. How about you, Liz? What do you require?
Yeah, sure. lwhite@rjmediagroup.com. And I'll give out my cell phone too. I don't mind. 860-944-9805. And like we said, anytime you can ask us questions about it. So I
love you guys. What you're doing is amazingly cool, not just for the industry, but for marketing and advertising in general. It drives me crazy that, I think I did this, I'm sure in my Steal for You, I do so many, when I interface with advertisers, I always say, look, my sponsoring company here is RJ Media, but I applaud you if you advertise with them. I applaud you if you advertise with their competitor. I just go out and beat a drum, pay someone to dress up like the Statue of Liberty and shove a darn arrow in their hand. But if you're marketing, you're in the game. Those that don't market, it's just in today's competitive world with digital I could go on for hours. This is not just championing an industry, it's championing something that's essential for businesses to grow. That's why I love it. I just love the whole idea that you're applying federal dollars where they should be applied to help businesses grow, which is marketing and advertising. So congratulations, guys. Good program. Liz White, JB Giannani, I said it correctly. No. Meriden, I said your town correctly.
No, it's Giannini. It's Giannini.
Giannini. All right, so 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Okay, Mike Blinder. Mike Blinder, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Blinder. Yes, that's what your name's going to be from now on.
I'll be Mike Blinder as long as you're buying the drinks at the mega conference. Okay,
all right.
Liz?
Sounds good.
Everybody take care, stay well, stay healthy, and stay warm up there. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Mike. Bye.